move your body, exercise. It's going to help in so many areas. I'll just leave it at that. Do hard things, like do something that makes you a little uncomfortable. Make it a small thing at first, do it, and you're going to realize like it's not that bad, right? Be grateful. If you wake up, you should be grateful for that. And once I started focusing on gratitude and expressing, like deeply connecting to the things I'm grateful for, it's just more positive.
This is the Fit Investor Podcast, where we talk about how to live a more holistic life of being fit, not only financially, but physically and faithfully. We'll be joined by experts in all these areas to share their experiences and actionable and practical tips so that you can be a fit investor too. So now let's join our hosts, Cale Delaney and Brenna Carls.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Fit Investor. I'm your host, Cale Delaney, here with Brenna Powerlifting Carls. And today our special guest is Mr. Luke Fernandez. And Luke is a husband, father, and personal development coach, an entrepreneur who specializes in helping people who have struggled with depression and a lack of self-confidence throughout their lives. Luke himself has struggled with these mental health battles as well, and throughout his life, he's overcome obesity, losing over 140 pounds and keeping it off for over 12 years, having physical health and exercise be a foundation for his mental growth through the years. He has also been involved in the wholesaling side of real estate investing and also operates a photo booth and party rental company. And his mission is to create 10,000 fitter father figures, like the alliteration. So with that, Mr. Luke, welcome to the Fit Investor.
Hey, happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we can inspire some people today.
Absolutely. Why don't you just give us a real brief background, and then let's jump right into the story about the mental health and overcoming obesity and how the physical fitness really played a role in all that and got you to where you are.
Yeah, perfect. Would love to. Luke Fernandez from St. Louis, Missouri. Was born and raised here. I'm 36. I've been married for almost 11 years. And I just had a son. He's going to be 9 months old soon. Completely life-altering, life-changing. It's special, that's for sure. And I call it the ultimate growth test. I grew a lot, and it turns out maybe not as much as I thought, but it's awesome all around. Short story about me. I grew up in a single-parent household. My parents got divorced when I was 4. There was a lot of sadness and negativity in my house, and the way that we expressed that and the way that we comforted ourselves was with food. I love food. I'm a food addict. I'm not afraid to say that. A long time ago, it was weird to think about that being a thing because everybody has to eat. That's why I believe it's one of the hardest addictions to learn how to deal with and cope with and live with, because you don't really overcome it. You just live with it. And that started gaining weight early on in probably about 6th or 7th grade. I played sports up until about that point. Stopped playing sports, kept eating foods. Little Debbie was my best friend. Put on a lot of weight between middle school and high school. And it was rough. There was a lot of dark times then. And then I met my wife through a friend, and all of a sudden I fell in love with her. And that's what made me realize I should try to lose weight and better myself. Honestly, because I didn't think she would want to be with somebody who looked the way I did, even though she says that she loved me when I looked that way anyway. So that's a bonus for me. And I've been growing on a self-development path for about 8 years now. It all happened when I discovered a podcast about financial literacy, actually, because I grew up broke and poor. And then I started finding stuff about mindset and growth and stuff with quantum mechanics and physics and Joe Dispenza, which kind of mixed with my faith background, which has always been an on and off relationship with God. I have a story I would love to share with everybody, a little later on, that strengthened that relationship, made me realize that there's something is watching out for me. I'll put it that way.
So, number one, I saw Brenna was already smiling as you were talking about the food there. So I know
I'm addicted to food too. So I feel plain chicken and rice. He's one of those weird people, and I have to have my food taste really good.
I'm one of those weird people now.
Really?
I'm sick of it, but the desired goal to me is worth it more than the instant gratification of the taste. Now, I still try to mix in a little something here and there, but I'm a ground turkey and pasta guy, and just straight plain.
I'm going to give you some recipes that are healthy and protein filled, but they taste really good.
I'll take it. I'll take
Okay.
it. Tahini is like my secret. I don't know if you guys
Oh, yeah. I like
nice tahini. Yeah.
Mhm.
That
Well, there we go. So yeah, so this is interesting. I want to dive in a little bit. So your parents got divorced when you were 4, growing up in relatively poor upbringing. And when did, of course, this is many years ago now, but when did you start seeing the effects perhaps of that divorce and the negativity? Because at a young age of 4, I think it oftentimes has a little bit of a delayed effect as you start maturing a little bit and seeing the impacts. I know you said you kept playing sports until 6th or 7th grade, and then you started getting into the food more as a comfort. Is that kind of when you started really seeing the impact of things, or is it something else?
Yeah, no, I think it was sooner. I was 4, but I can remember specific times of being like, where's my dad? He's not at the house. I can remember specific times when he would pick me up from daycare because it was like such a rarity, or from kindergarten. And it was really special. I really looked up to my dad. I think most boys do. Like, that's their superhero, right?
Mhm.
So there was a lot of, for me, feelings of, oh, it's because of me. It was because of me and my sister that my parents got divorced.
Right.
It wasn't at all, but I think a lot of kids think that, especially at younger ages.
Mhm.
And most of my friends at the time, their parents were all married. So I was the outcast in that aspect. Nobody brought it up, nothing like that. It was all just my own self-talk,
Right.
bringing down my self-worth, which of course I didn't realize until 20 years later when I started doing a lot of work on myself. I think that's most people's issues are perceived and made up in their head.
Mhm.
And, you get in a spiral and just keep making stuff up. But so it was a lot sooner. And then, the food thing, like I said, we express all emotions through food. I come from a big Italian family. They like to eat. My grandma was one who would cook for everybody. And before you're done eating, she's bringing out desserts. Before you're done with the first dessert, she's bringing out second desserts. And if I could, I would eat nothing but sweets. That's just what I love so much. But I realized at some point, okay, I'm doing that just to make myself feel a certain way. That was how I felt.
Mhm.
And I had friends even in like middle school that got into experimenting with marijuana and drinking and cigarettes. And well, I was experimenting with just food. Like lived with my mom, and she worked sometimes 2 jobs with me and my sister. And then we had extracurricular activities. So she didn't cook a lot. It was a lot of store-bought processed stuff, and it was good and it was easy to grab and just eat more than what I needed without realizing it. Then once I stopped playing sports and being as active as I was, still hanging around with the friends, riding bikes and scooters and skateboards and all that. But I want to say it was like a 2-year difference where I could tell I put on, I would guess like 30 or 40 pounds between like 6th and 8th grade, which is a pretty good amount.
Yeah.
I went from being like a cute kid, I had freckles and like a bunch of girls liked me in 6th grade, to like 8th and 9th grade being a totally different, overweight, sloppy person.
Yeah.
And realizing that probably sometime in high school. So then I just kept eating to hide the feelings of the guilt. And then, of course, there was a bunch of depression back in there from my dad not being around, from the way I looked, from our financial situations. There was bankruptcies. We lost a house. So there was all kinds of things like that just added into my comfort is food. So I'm going to comfort myself well.
Mhm. Right. I always find it interesting the paths people take on dealing with I hesitate to use the word trauma, but perhaps it is, but whatever their upbringing background is, there can be just completely different paths that people take to deal with it. Some people go down a very destructive path, whether it's drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever. Some people go down a food path, and some people take a seemingly productive path, but still create their own addictions in different areas as well. So I always find it interesting and curious as to why people go down a certain path versus another. Do you have any inclinations as to perhaps what led you to choosing the food in particular as your comforting mechanism?
I think that there's a different way people perceive food against, say, drugs and alcohol. Now, not to say that also when I was a kid, I was bumming cigarettes from friends that would steal from their parents when we were in elementary school. So I was still like doing the cigarette thing. And then later, of course, unfortunately, progressed into alcohol and cannabis. But for me, it was like, I guess my mom made those things seem like such a bad thing, is I was afraid of those. But food was nothing to be afraid of. It was nothing to worry about, which
Right.
when you think about the stuff I was eating, it's probably worse than some of that stuff, especially to the extent that I was eating it. It
Where
definitely,
are you from, Luke?
St. Louis,
Okay.
Missouri, it definitely has its negative effects. And if I wouldn't have gotten it under control when I did, I think I would probably be dead from obesity and the related complications that can come with that, whether it be diabetes or heart disease, something like that. Or another side of that, I would probably be in jail because I was a super angry person. Like I'm so different than I used to be. And not just because I lost weight or I work out, because it takes a lot of mindset and self-development work.
I find it interesting because people are like, oh, first of all, it's the culture. So the reason why I ask where you're from is generally it's more southern areas that people relate food with family and the love and the caring. And so if you go to your grandma's house, she has all the food and she wants you to eat. My grandma said, like, it never fails when I don't have makeup on. She's like, you need to eat more. You look tired. I'm like, yeah, it's because I don't have any makeup on. She's like, no, you need to eat. And then I put makeup on and then she's, oh, you look better now. But it's like, that's their way of helping and loving and caring. And then going from that, you're like, you gain 30 pounds in a year to 2 years. That's not hard to do. And people think, oh, that won't be me. That was him going off the rails. 1 pound, for anybody that's listening, is only 3,500 calories. And on average, the average person that eats per day eats at least 300 to 500 calories more than they're supposed to. And it's simple. There's so many things out there like the Mediterranean diet or the paleo diet or whatever diet it is. It's really, unless you have an underlying health issue, it's really simple to just burn more calories than you take in if you want to lose weight. Or if you're wanting to gain weight, eat more calories than you burn. And people are like, 3,500 calories is a lot. No, it's not. Because if you're eating 500 calories more a day, or let's just go down to the lower end, 3,000, you could be gaining a pound per week to 1 pound, 1.5 pounds per 2 weeks. And there's 52 weeks in a year. So just thinking of that and breaking that down for people, they don't realize how easy it is to gain that weight. So they're like, oh, that's not going to be me, but it's going to be you. Even if you think you're eating healthy, if you're eating a salad with ranch dressing and all this stuff on it, it adds up. Like it could be 600 to 800 calories. And people don't understand that it's so easy to overeat when you don't even think you're overeating. Sometimes you're not even full because you eat a honey bun and that's not giving you the nutrients that you need, but you're still overeating. It's crazy. And then those chemicals and processed, and Kale will get on his high horse about that. And sugars will affect your mood. And you said you were angry a lot of the times, and it could be from your trauma, but also that food gives you that quick dopamine hit for however long you're eating. And this is a reality check I'm going to talk about too. I've timed myself when I eat something that I really enjoy, like pizza or wings, or in general, when you eat. Do you know it only takes you about 10 minutes to eat pretty much your full meal to feel whole? And it's 10 minutes of your day that you feel good. And then after you eat whatever that crap is, you feel awful for the rest of the day and you feel guilty. Are 10 minutes really worth 30 minutes per day if you're eating all of the meals? Or 30 minutes a day worth that guilt and that shame and that feeling that you aren't doing what you need to do to lose the weight? Is that really worth it? And working out gives you more of a dopamine hit than those 10 minutes do with food. I've studied so much about it, so that's why I just wanted to mention all of those little facts on this episode, because people don't realize how easy it is to overeat when they don't even think they're overeating.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of people think that the way they feel, like I think about it from the aspect of like my day job. It's a food distribution center. I operate one part of the warehouse. And so many of the guys, like they start their day with energy drinks and a honey bun, like you said, literally from the vending machine. And then they'll have a couple more. It's crazy, but they think that feeling that way is normal. They think they're tired and have no energy because they didn't sleep well or because it's life or they have a family and kids.
Yeah.
All they have to do is literally 3 days of not eating any of that junk, and they'll start to notice a difference. They'll actually sleep better. They'll have more energy, less brain fog. And me, I've gone in waves of how well I'm doing, tracking, eating clean, eating in a way that fuels me instead of just fills me. And I can tell the difference so clearly. But most people, they can't do the 3 to 5 to 7 days just to feel a difference. And they just don't want to. They don't want to do it because it's not important to them. It's not a priority. And they don't think the food is part of the problem. And I think that's just contributed to the marketing of food.
Yeah.
That's right. I think a big part of it too is just Western culture in particular. We have a very, I don't know, lethargic relationship with anything difficult.
Mhm.
Yes.
And so whether it's the food or the physical fitness, if it's difficult, we don't want to do it. We default to laziness in essence. And that thought of depriving, quote unquote, 3 days or 5 days of their cravings is too hard of a thing to do to have the beneficial impacts, just like with the gym or whatever other type of exercise, right? Going through that physical difficulty, that pain to develop a consistent habit is oftentimes just too big of a hurdle for people to overcome to make the lasting impacts with it. And I think it just comes down to that, just doing hard things and simple things like water, just staying hydrated. You guys are talking about feeling full or not feeling full. I think a huge part of that is just the dehydration with people. You don't drink enough water. And I carry around my gallon water jug now because it helps me track and make sure that I am drinking it.
It's like the size of my body.
It does make a difference. And for example, for this Lent season, one thing I've started doing is fasting on the weekends. And so like this past weekend, I did a 36-hour fast. And in that 36 hours, I'll drink 2.5 to 3 gallons of water. And honestly, it's not that bad. You don't really feel that hungry. And after that, like when I ate finally after that 36 hours, I was like, ugh, actually, I feel crappy now. Like I felt a lot better when I wasn't. So I think if people can just get through that, and same thing with the sugar thing. The sugar addiction is huge, but again, it's proven that all it really takes is like a week of getting off sugar to alter your cravings and alter your taste buds to
I don't believe that. I'll have to say. I know you say a week, but I don't know. Because when I did
if you do it cold turkey, if you cut out as much possible sugar as you possibly can within a week, your cravings.
maybe I'll try it again. Because when I did it was because I did a competition. And at that point, I didn't know what healthy eating was. And my coach was like, I was only eating like 40 grams of carbs a day, which is insane. And it was rough. And like, I thought I'm like, I have to have sugar. Like and I think I was equating that to sugar and not being able to work without sugar. So maybe I'll try it again because I do have the carbs and everything that I know that I'm supposed to have. However, the people that are listening to this, the only option of chicken and rice and this bland mess.
That's not all.
It's not all that's out there. I'm telling you. Okay, I'm going to tell you my meals today. This morning I had a protein Rice Krispie. I make all of this. And I think that you say it's harder work. It is a little bit of harder work, but I've started to enjoy the process of making food. And if you plan out, if you sit down and take 10 minutes to plan out your menu basically for a week, you can do awesome things. So protein Rice Krispie treat this morning with my coffee. My next meal is going to be crab ragoon nachos. It sounds unhealthy. It's not because I make it really good. And then I have a protein shake. Then my dinner is going to be sweet chili chicken with some zucchini and some mashed cauliflower and dessert, chocolatey Eclair cake. And all of it is healthy. It's about 1,386 calories with 112 grams of protein, like all that. And it doesn't taste like dry chalk. I promise you, if you take the time to look into these recipes, it's like real estate. It's like a business, like Luke has his business. If you take 30 minutes, even just 30 minutes a day, and to better your properties in real estate or to better whatever you're doing, it's going to work out for you. Whether it's food, diet, investing in yourself with real estate, investing in yourself as an entrepreneur. Anywho, it's not just about dry chicken.
Brenna doesn't like dry chicken.
I do not.
I
That's
just,
what that's what I ate for that contest prep in.
That's where
Yeah.
that's where the trauma comes from.
It does. There's other answers out there.
no,
Figure it out.
I was going to say, I'm with you a little bit. Like, I've looked at some of those recipes. Like, I've come across like protein ice cream with the Ninja Creamy Maker. I don't know if you've seen that. I haven't done it yet. I'm
It's
one.
pretty good.
I did.
It's not my favorite, but it's okay.
I made, what did I make? Oh, protein French toast muffins. I made those. I'm pretty good. It's low calorie bread, and each one's, I think it's 9 grams of protein, 5 grams of carbs, and 0.2 grams of fat. And it hits the craving that it needs to. I love cinnamon. So brown sugar, cinnamon frosted Pop-Tarts were my favorite. So I have these instead now.
There you go. Yeah. So making smart choices. And I think
Right.
the other thing is resisting or eliminating the temptation, right? Things that you really have a super high craving for, then don't buy them. Don't have them in your house.
Or make the healthy recipe because you're like, you have to be mentally strong.
yeah.
I'm not mentally strong when it comes to food. If I didn't figure out how to make these healthy recipes, I'd be 300 pounds. I'm not even joking because I love food that much. And so I'll just admit it. I'm not mentally strong enough to resist those foods. So I make healthy versions that taste freaking good.
Yeah.
That get that craving away.
Absolutely. Yeah. So lots of different things. But so what was it then that became the turning point for you? I know you mentioned a little bit in regards to your wife, but
Yeah.
was that really the turning point, or was there something else that kicked it off?
Yeah, it was. So we had met through a friend, and then her and I started hanging out a little bit. And it was a beautiful day in the summer. We were at a very nice park. Went for a hike. Even though I was big, I still like being outside and like moving. And we were up on this bluff. It was overlooking a river and a bunch of trees, really cool spot. And I was sitting back, and she was at the end of the bluff. And I was like, what is going on? What's this feeling I have? Huh, I like her? Weird. No, this is more than I literally had the butterflies in the stomach feeling. I fell in love with her at that moment. And I think it was like a day later when I was like, oh, this is weird. I even asked my sister, who's a few years older, I was like, what does love feel like? And how old was I? I was like 19 at this time, 18 or 19 at this time. At my biggest weight too, I was 280 pounds at that time. And I asked my sister, like, she told me, yeah, love was like butterflies in your stomach, kind of nervous, kind of sick. I was like, I can't eat, I can't sleep, all this stuff. And I literally thought to myself, she's not going to want to be with a big guy like me. Let me change that. Now, being young and not knowing anything besides to express my emotions with sweets and junk, I decided to lose weight in an unhealthy way. So I'm glad I went through this process. So as I'm helping people get healthier now, they don't do the same thing where I just stopped eating food. I mean, I stopped eating. Like, it was crazy. I would eat grilled chicken, an apple, and a salad. And that was probably within 3 months, I lost 40 pounds.
Well,
Because I was working a warehouse job where I walked a lot at the time. I wore a pedometer and I would walk an average of 15 miles at the job. And then I would go to the gym and just walk on the treadmill because I thought all you should do to lose weight is cardio. And I would literally watch a sports game or a movie and just be there for 2 or 3 hours walking. It worked. It cut off the weight, but it cut off the strength and the muscle that I had and all that stuff too. She started going to the gym with me. We made it like a date night, and we'd go for a few hours just walking or on the elliptical. And then we'd go to the grocery store, grab a veggie tray with the ranch dressing, as Brianna referenced earlier. But that's all I would eat in a day. Like, it was not great, but I lost 143 pounds in a year and a half, came out very quick. Now, looking back, obviously finding out that's probably not the best way to do it the proper way. I still had crazy energy fatigue because of how little I was eating. And it just wasn't the healthiest thing. And then my sister looked at me and I think it was Christmas one year, and she's, you look sick. Like, your neck looks really small. I'm like, well, it doesn't, because I didn't look in a mirror. Because when I'm 5'8", almost 300 pounds, I didn't look in a mirror. Never did. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I felt. Even after losing all that weight, I didn't look in the mirror. Literally, my sister said that. I went and looked in the mirror and I was like, whoa, she's right. I look very ill. I was so skinny. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'll start lifting weights. And just went to the gym, talked to the owner. It was a small gym. He was like an owner trainer. And he's like, yeah, do this, had me start doing some lightweight, high rep stuff and kind of told me what to eat. And I'll never forget. I was like, man, I've lost over 100 pounds. I have this extra skin and hanging around and stuff. And he goes, oh yeah, the smiley face. That's what he calls the droopy extra stomach skin. And he's, yeah, that might not ever go away. And it's still there. And at first it's, dang, I lost all this weight, but it's still there. But like you said, through mental growth and doing hard things, I embrace it now. Like the extra skin, I have stretch marks all over. It's like war wounds, battle wounds, proving to myself day once I see it that, hey, look what you did. What else could you do? And that's my whole message to people. Like a lot of people, they don't believe they can stop eating the stuff because they're addicted to it or their reasons aren't good enough. Or a lot of people, like you said, they don't want to do hard things. It's really anything that's inconvenient. Humans are creatures of habit. We love doing simple. We love doing easy. But like, I feel better when I do hard stuff. When the more I get out of my comfort zone, the more I grow. So that's what I liked. I have a quote that I like to say is, conquering self-created adversity leads to true self-mastery. And for me, that's life is always going to throw unexpected adversities at us, whether we like it or not. How do you prepare for that? For me, it's training daily. It's reading. It's getting quiet with God. It's reflecting. It's being grateful. And it's doing different things each day that help me prepare for when something unexpected comes up. I went on a tangent there. I'm sorry, but
No,
I
that's a
mean,
good.
before we get into like the religion and the stuff like that, do you still see, because I went through a phase and my husband went through a phase too. I gained, everybody says freshman 15 in college. Pretty sure I gained 30 pounds, which is crazy on a 5-foot person. And I was 50. And I obviously lost all that in an unhealthy way, just like you at first. But do you ever look at yourself and you still see that version of you? Because sometimes I feel like I'll look and I'm like, do I look fat in this to my husband? He's like, what? Like, how can you? But then he does the same thing because it's like you have this, it's like a mental scar or something of what you used to look like. And for some reason, it's always ingrained in you. So do you still have that sometimes?
yeah, even though it's been 12, 13 years since I've been under 200 pounds, is all the way down to that 137. And admittedly, I haven't stayed on my game as much as I should have in that time frame. I never got above 200. That was like a thing. Oh, you can never get back above 200. But yeah, 6 days out of the week, I feel like I'm still that big guy. I'm still, something's not right. And like right now, I'm in the best shape I have been probably in about 7 or 8 years.
Nice.
There's times where, hey, if the lighting's right, if I have my shirt off, if I cross a mirror, I'm like, whoa, hey, that's me. Or even if I have shirt on, I'm like, whoa, I look good. Like I posted something the other day and I was like, huh, okay, cool. But it's like there and gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. I think to me, that's going to be like a lifelong thing for anybody who was in a body type that they didn't like for any substantial amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, I think probably more so when you have something drastic or a drastic change that you came from. Gosh, I think probably most people suffer from that in some respect, just not being happy with how you look. I think it's just a common, pervasive mental challenge that everybody has. And I wanted to segue into it a little bit in terms of the mental health, because anyway, we've been talking about the fitness and some of the physical aspects of it a lot, but really strives or derives from the mental. And we touched on your upbringing and that type of thing that led it on. But what is fitness to you now? Like, why is it, now that you've lost the weight, you've had the weight off for so long, you're able to consistently do it, you know that. So what is it now about the fitness that is so important to you when it comes to the mental health? And how did you start changing your mindset? Because you mentioned anger issues and that type of stuff. So what was it that helped you change that mindset, and how does the physical fitness help that now?
Yeah, this is the good stuff. Working out in the beginning, and this is what I tell everybody that approaches me about it. Obviously, it's a big topic of conversation when people find out how much weight I lost. It's, yes, you want to look better. You want to feel better. But feeling better is all attributed to the way that you think about yourself. At least to me, it is. So now it's therapy. Like I've gone to a therapist. That was great. That was cool. The gym is my therapist. Working out is my therapist. Lifting weights. I'm sure you guys can relate. If you're trying to push yourself and you're putting up some heavy weight, a lot of times I think about something that I'm not happy about or that I've been angry about or that I'm
Yeah.
angry about right now. So I can get that weight up. It makes you realize that you can push yourself more and do the more capable that I find myself to be in the gym, which is pushing to that failure point and then pushing past it, is in direct correlation to how I can achieve things in life outside of the gym, I believe. And it's just, I think where I really started changing that, because I've gone in waves in the gym, like where I'm really dialed in, really crushing it. I feel great every workout, feel great after every workout. But then, maybe this workout wasn't that great. Maybe this one wasn't that great. And my mental state isn't that great. So for me, it's like all about the intention when I'm in there. What's my intention? My intention is to, yes, lift these weights, to build my body, create this temple, but also to strengthen my mind. I like to, when I go in, I either jump in the sauna or I'll do some cardio, and I'm really like in my head. I'm just thinking about, what do I got going on? What am I feeling right now? How am I connecting with my wife and my son and my community? That's where I can do the clearest thinking, because I'm a person who thinks all the time. I don't know if you guys are like that. And those thoughts always run into each other. But in the gym, it's okay, I'm in here moving. And I think that movement,
Uh-huh.
the repetitions, like the running high, you can get it with lifting, you can get it with being on the stairs. It's just that repetitiveness and then the breathing. And if you're lifting in a certain rhythm, for me, I get more clarity when I'm in there. That's really where I deep dive into my mind. So I have an intention to go in, not all the time, but sometimes if there's something from the outside world that I want to figure out, address, fix, then I go into the gym with that intention. And usually those are not, along with the days that I don't want to get up and go to the gym, those are the best performance days. And those are the days I feel best mentally. It wakes you up, it energizes you, it gets oxygen into your system, which a lot of people don't realize. When they wake up, they're dehydrated and they don't have any oxygen in their system. Nobody wakes up happy because you haven't been breathing deep enough. So like you're in there working out, you're going to be breathing harder and more and deeper. Your body feels better. Again, the endorphins and everything. Like I'd rather go to the gym and pay my $40, $50 a month than go to my therapist and pay $125 every week just to answer my own questions. That's what therapy is.
Yeah.
Go and you answer your own questions, which is great and the way it should be. But guess what? That's what I do when I go into the gym now.
Mm-hmm.
I went into the sauna last night, and speaking of like thinking, because that's one of the main reasons I enjoy working out. Is the same thing you said, is you have that time to yourself to think about, okay, why do I feel this way? What's ailing me mentally? So that's what I do in a sauna. I do the breathing work and just sit there in the moment. But I walked in and like, it's a pretty large sauna, and it's a women's sauna in the women's bathroom. And the women were like, just like staring at their phones. And I'm like, one, how is your phone not overheating in here? Because it is hotter than the devil's butt crack in here. And two, you don't have that, like everybody's freaking on their phones, and that won't allow you to have time to just sit with your thoughts. And I think that's one of the main problems these days. Still like an old person now about cell phones, but get off your phone. Do something that you're not looking at a freaking screen that's going to bombard your mind with all these things, but not letting you sit with your feelings. Like sometimes it's just good for you to sit and not have anything distracting you. I think that's a lot of the reason why some of us become like, even if we don't feel like going to the gym, we go because we know we're going to feel better afterwards, like you said. And some of that's just mental training, and then getting in the habit of your mind being like, oh, I feel better and I enjoy myself and I'm with myself, my thoughts when I'm working out, and I enjoy that. And sometimes it takes maybe a month for your body to realize that.
See, I'm the opposite. I go to the gym not to think. That's serious.
Yeah,
That's
you're
the
weird.
only time that I can focus right on that one thing, and stop the train in the head. So for me, that's what it is. I intentionally to your point, I intentionally don't look at the phone for those couple hours besides to put the music on. And then, I'm just there. I'm focusing on working out. So I'm consciously trying not to think of things. And for me, that's my therapy.
Yeah.
of not thinking of things, right? Because mental fatigue is worse than
Mhm.
physical fatigue.
Mhm.
And I know that's one of my challenges is, as you mentioned it before, Luke, as well. Yeah, you're always thinking even at night, and that gets very tiring, right? So the gym in the morning, that sets my day up, clearing things out a little bit. And then once that's over, then get back into the middle
Well, it's
of
like
things.
your own time. It's your personal. That's what I think. It's your personal time to do whatever you want and not have to answer to, are my properties priced okay? Do I need to go? Call it whatever it is that's on your mind.
And
You don't have to
de-stress.
think about that for that one moment in the day. That's what I hang on to.
Yeah. I think I have those days too. Like sometimes it's like something that's been bugging me for a few days, and then I can go in there, I get in that certain frequency, a higher frequency state, and then there's the solution.
Yeah.
And then it can be done. Some days, like you're saying, Kale, I just go in there, put on the music, and I just kill some weights. So it depends on what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Brenna Carl, CEO and co-founder of The Mortgage Shop. When I'm not spending my time searching for the best pizza in town, working out, well, because of pizza, or fighting sharks as Kale likes to say, I spend my time educating clients on the best investment products that will help them build generational wealth and making sure their loan process is as smooth as warm butter on a piece of toast. Call us today to get started with your investment journey at 800-816-7982 or, to talk more about pizza. Talk to you soon.
So what's the mission for Fitter Fathers? You mentioned in the beginning, you have your 9-month-old son, and that being a life-changing event. So what is it about wanting to inspire fathers to be more fit that you're passionate about?
Yeah, certainly. So we had tried getting pregnant for 6 years before we eventually did.
Oh, wow.
So that came with its own mental fight. I'll put it that way. And then once we finally did, okay, here we go. This is ready. And then if you don't mind, I'm going to backtrack a little bit to some of my biggest mental health struggles, which happened as we were expecting our son. He was born in June, 6 weeks early, healthy though, everything was well. But about a month and a half prior to that, I got in a really bad place. I left the gym one day, had a great workout. And as soon as I stepped outside of the gym, just a wave of depression hit me, smacked me right in the face. And I was getting in the car, going to go to work. And I started thinking, I was like, I don't like who I am. I don't like the example that I'm going to be for my son. I haven't achieved all the things I want to achieve before he's here to make him proud, to be the man that I believe I should be. I wasn't on the path to becoming that person either. I wasn't being cognizant or intentional with the person I was developing and creating every day. And I had all these rush of thoughts, all centered around those things. And I was like, shoot, I'm not ready for him to come. And I was ready to end my life, like in that moment. This was like April of last year.
Oh, wow.
So I got my car and I was like, I'm going to go drive to this park that has a boat ramp. I could just drive into the river, keep the windows up, keep the seatbelt on. This is what I'm going to do. And as I'm on my way there, I'm praying to God. As I've said, I've had a weird on and off relationship with God. I don't necessarily go by everything in the Bible. I communicate with him in my own way, which I believe is part of my morning connection, where I just get quiet and I'm grateful. And my conscience, I believe, is the voice of God. So I'm on my way there and I'm praying and I'm like, God, I'm sorry that I'm doing this. Take care of my family. Let them know I'm sorry. I just can't do this anymore. And as I'm driving there, there's one entrance to the park and it's closed. There's construction barrels and barricades all over the place. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. Okay, going to work. So I go to work. And then the next day I see a guy at the gym. Never talked to him before. I know him from the real estate world, actually. And I was like, I'm going to go talk to him. I don't know why. And I did. And he's like, yeah, man, we're talking. I got 10 minutes. I got to go pick my kids up. 45 minutes later, I really got to go pick my kids up. long story short, he's a Christian, and I had told him about that situation the day before, and he's the one who made me realize this. He said, so you were on your way to end your life with your expecting wife at home. You couldn't get there because the road was closed, and on the way there, you told God you were sorry and asked him to take care of your family. And you're still here because you couldn't get there. Yeah. And then I had a conversation with another friend later that day because I was feeling low. He's a guy that I can reach out to. These two don't know each other at all. He said the same exact sentence, same exact words. And I just looked up as I was on the phone with him. I said, okay, I get it now.
Mhm.
I'm here. You are keeping me so I
Mhm.
can take care of them and lead them. So from that instant, it was like, okay, create the person I wanted when I was younger and the man that I believe I need to be for my wife and my son to lead them properly. That's all around, right? That's physically, mentally, financially, spiritually. I got to be the leader. I got to be the Superman. That's like a superhero is what it feels like. So that's where fitter father figure comes in. I think there's a lot of guys who may be expecting a child. Maybe they have children. Maybe they have babies. Maybe they're wanting to get in a relationship. So my coaching group is called Anomaly Coaching. That's where the hat comes from. My IG handles Anomaly Luke. But within that, we have a community, Fitter Father Figures. And it's fitter father figure in every aspect, like I said, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. I think there's a lot of men out there who are struggling just like I have in the past, just like I did that day, who are lost, broken, confused, worried, fearful. And I believe through all my years of bettering myself and now being even more dialed in the last 9-10 months than I ever have been, that's what I'm here to do. God saved me to take care and provide for my family and to help other men do the same for theirs. So we work on mindset. On top of the mindset is fitness and nutrition, because that's what initially saved my life, and I believe has multiple times, is working out and paying attention to what I'm eating and feeling better. And then I have 2 programs. That's the basis of both of them. And then we have a mindset work where we just calls and we work with people and we really deep dive into the food stuff and then into life, relationship, family, fatherhood.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. Did you tell your wife? I'm assuming your wife knows about this story and everything.
Yep, she does. There was actually 2 instances, but that one was more divine
Yeah.
intervention than the other one. But yeah, yep, she knows. And she, at that time that I had told her, it was after our son was born. And unfortunately, she was going through her own like postpartum stuff.
Yeah.
So she could relate. And my wife is amazing. She's super supportive. She's super helpful. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be trying to become better. I wouldn't be trying to be anything. Honestly, she's amazing. So luckily she's like, you're amazing. You're awesome. Blah, blah, blah. You're all that, which I think is good for her to do. Was she telling me the truth? I don't know. Maybe love is blind sometimes. And I think there's a lot of women out there that do that for their men. The real test is when I or other men look themselves in the mirror, which I told you guys before I hadn't done for years and years.
Mhm.
Look yourself in the mirror. Can you tell yourself you love you? By your physical appearance, by your mental appearance, by where you're at and the person that you're creating and the example that you are. We all know kids they don't get taught. They catch. Caught, not taught. Yeah.
No, I love that. And yeah, absolutely. A great example, great testimony of divine providence there. And it's examples like that I guess bolster my love for the way that God works. Because when we're praying for things, we already have typically an answer in our own mind or an expectation of what we want. And perhaps at that time, you wanted to end things because that felt like the easier way. And you thought that was the way to make these things better. And so you asked God to handle it. Right. and talk about unanswered prayers or prayers being answered in a different way. Had he answered your prayer explicitly and let you end your life, you would have potentially created that terrible trauma for your wife and your son that's similar to what you experienced growing up, right? Potentially worse. So instead of giving you what you asked for, right, he gives you something better. And the unfortunate thing is it's often hindsight that we see these things, right? In the moment, it may not getting what we want may frustrate us or whatever else. But looking back and seeing those divine providence examples and properly answered prayers, perhaps is a good way to say it, can really make us appreciate the way that God works and be thankful that he doesn't think the way that we think. Because this whole session that we've been talking about, we as fallen people oftentimes think the wrong way, no matter what, whether it's food, finances, fitness, mental health, all these different things. We oftentimes have destructive thoughts, destructive behaviors. And so thank God that he thinks in a different way. Otherwise, we would just be caught in the same mess that we make for ourselves. So I think that's excellent. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm just curious now, how does your faith play into your life now? And do you, in your fitter father figures, does the faith play into that in terms of your coaching and helping people through these mental health issues and things like that? Where does that stand?
Yeah. So personally, every day when I wake up, I drink water. As I said earlier, I do some breathing technique and then I express gratitude. And me expressing gratitude, 3 things a day, I tell God, thank you for. And when I first started, when you're an ungrateful person, it's very hard to find something to be grateful for. So when I first started, it was like, oh, I'm out on my deck. There's a street light right behind me. I'm thankful that my street is lit up for the paved road I get to drive on. And then, of course, as you practice that, it gets bigger and better. And then I also like to ask, what am I doing wrong or what can I be doing better? And where is my potential? Sometimes I get an answer, like you were saying. Sometimes it's answered in a different way. Sometimes the answer is confirming what I already believe. And then it's like, when you don't feel like going to the gym, oh, I got to go. And it's like that. He gives you that answer and you're like, okay, yep, okay, that's it. It's hard at first, but you still got to know. I accept it. And as far as the group, it comes up by way of me leading a call. And sometimes, depending on that day or what's going on in that week, it'll come up. I don't like force it on anybody. It's not a requirement. But I think that most people believe in some sort of something, at least that I've come across. Whether they think it's God, whether they think it's something that we think is God that they call dog or something else, so be it. But there's too many coincidences, like my 2 friends telling me the exact same words, to be coincidence.
Literal barricades up.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, you're like, God, take care of my family. He's like, I got you. We're going to take care of your family. That's how I'm going to fix this.
Right. And I didn't see it until
Yeah.
some of his other followers pointed it out to me.
Yeah. I think it's like, that's human nature, right? When I pray for something, I'm like, I really want this. But if it's not meant to be, put up barricades. But I really want it. God doesn't know I really want it. He knows I want it. But every single time I pray about something I really want, I'm like, but I really want it. And I feel like he's saying back, I know you said that 3 times now in your prayer.
Oh, and that's why. So I used to just do gratitude. And one of my mentors was like, he knows what you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask him what you need to work on or where you need to grow? Oh, okay. Yeah.
And those are the scary prayers, right?
Yeah. Being vulnerable is scary in whatever aspect. And that's
you gotta be open to getting the answer. That's the thing. Sometimes I won't pray for something because sometimes I'm like, I don't want to know that answer quite yet. And that's the thing with it. If you have a relationship with God, if you gotta be willing to change if he does put that change in your life, which is scary sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just a very recent example is I'm one of the leaders in our high school youth group at church. And this past Sunday, part of the message we were talking about led into discussion on idols that we have in our lives and asking God to search our hearts for what those idols are and stripping them from us by whatever means is necessary, which is a very scary thing to think and to ask for, because we all have idols to some manner. And man, I that night, or rather that next morning, I woke up. I have nightmares and stuff like that, but I've never ever woken up like you see in the movies where somebody like wakes up like sweating and like heart racing or anything like that. Never had that happen. But like I woke up and just like breathing super, super heavy and like just feeling so disturbed. That was the only word I could come up with. Like I just felt so disturbed that morning and that day. And then, of course, the devotion and verse of the day and the scriptures and stuff that I was looking through just all coincided with the same message. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this doesn't feel good. But man, it was one of those scary prayers of God showing me what my idols are. And the even scarier part is do what you need to do to strip that idol from me. And I'm
That's
still
a scary
working through
prayer.
that. Still working through that now. Like, honestly, I still have an uneasy feeling based on some things, but those are the things that, that we really need to do. God calls us to put nothing ahead of him, to leave everything we have and follow him if we truly want to be his disciples. And just again, talking about doing hard things, that is probably the hardest thing that we all try to avoid as much as possible. That calling. But we have to eventually, one way or another, if it is according to his will and he's calling us, he will make it happen, whether it's through breaking us or through building us up, whatever manner it is that it needs to happen for us. The other side of things, we can, and I say this for myself as well, is that on the other side of things, we can rest in the comfort that whatever does happen in this life, whether it seems good or bad to us at the time, we have the hope of our salvation and being with him in heaven, right? For eternity. And so having that eternal mindset versus the earthly or the worldly mindset is where we need to put our faith and our hope, no matter what our situation is in this world, which is easier, much, much easier said than done, of course. But that is where our hope and our comfort needs to lie. So that's just, something that's been on my heart here, because this is just a couple days ago. But yeah, we have to be willing to say those scary prayers and accept the answer if and when it does come.
And that's where the most growth comes through, right? Like
Yeah.
everything for us, everything can go back to fitness and working out. We know we're going to grow the most when we do a little more, push past
Yeah.
it, lift a little heavier. So yeah, it's lifting that prayer and then listening to it and going by it and answering it.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent, Luke. I really appreciate you sharing your story. And I think it's a lot of good advice, a lot of good encouragement for people here. So I hope our audience takes some of these things to heart. And as we wrap it up, we'd like to ask for 3 actionable or practical tips based on what we've spoken about here that you could leave our audience with.
Yeah, certainly. Number 1 is move your body, exercise. It's going to help in so many areas. I'll just leave it at that. Number 2 is do hard things. Like do something that makes you a little uncomfortable. Make it a small thing at first. Do it. And you're going to realize like it's not that bad, right? Like for me, wholesaling real estate, making cold calls was really hard. Once I did 1,000 of them, I didn't care anymore.
Mhm.
But that first one took longer than the last 100. And number 3, be grateful. If you wake up, you should be grateful for that. Be grateful express gratitude 3 times a day. And I promise it'll change your life. I used to be so negative and so just negative minded. Everything would make me mad, make me angry. And once I started focusing on gratitude and expressing, like deeply connecting to the things I'm grateful for, it's just more positive. Like people have told me recently, you're the only positive person that's around that I get to be around. That's weird for me to hear. Like, okay, cool. It's working. And they notice it. That's the other thing. Like just try to brighten somebody else's day. And you can't do that if your day is not brighter.
Nope.
With that.
Yeah, very nice. And Brenna?
Most important question of the day. What's your favorite pizza from where and why? Do you allow yourself to eat pizza?
I have.
Chicken pizza.
I have. It's been a
No.
while.
Cold fried chicken.
I will throw that pizza off the balcony. That's when you'll see my rage coming.
Oh, I had a really good one here in St. Louis a few years ago. I think it was 2 years ago from a place that's been there like 120 years. It's like 400 square feet, cash only, which I didn't know. They're like, hey, you got to go to the ATM in the bar across the street. Okay.
Absolutely.
Go get the money, come back, pay for it. It was awesome. The place is called Pizza A Go, old Italian
Like that.
guys in the back. He brought it out to me. He's, oh, you're going to love this pizza. It was a cornmeal crust. Yeah, it was amazing. That's my favorite.
I will say, I'm going to put a conviction on you. And obviously, this is a healthy podcast. I get it. I'm healthy. However, I still eat pizza. Your son is going to grow up soon into an age where he can eat food, and you're going to want like pizza dates with your son, right? Like a Sunday. And you're going to have to, not Sunday like Saturday, Sunday, but a Sun day.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to be okay with fitting in stuff like that. It's all moderation. So I hope you don't limit yourself too much.
Yeah, no, like it's been long enough that I built up the control. That's the biggest thing. And if I feel like there's a day where I'm like, oh no, if I have this, I'm going to go off the rails, then Sunday's going to get moved to the next day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I can't wait for those moments. I can't wait to train with them. I can't wait to eat with them, hike with them, fish with them, all that stuff. It's so exciting.
And I'm not, for the listeners, I'm not telling you go out and have a pizza buffet every day. Saying it that needs to be happening in your life at some point to be truly happy. That's what I'm going to say.
You need pizza to be happy. There we
Yes.
go.
All right. I'm done.
Luke, if people want to find you, follow you, look into your coaching program, I know we didn't get into it, but your party booth rental, all that stuff, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah. Thank you. Anomaly Luke on Instagram, or they can check out anomalycoaching.com. And if they're in the St. Louis area and they have an event coming up, they want a photo booth or party rental stuff, you can check out topflightpartyrentals.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you again, Luke. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of Be Fit Investor.
Very cool. Thanks, guys.